everyone. Welcome to an episode of Fangirlz Assemble. I am Fariha, joining me with my partner in crime, Kristen. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. And we also have a very exciting guest with us, all the way from Omnidog's vault,
King of the
Jeanette,
internet.
king of the internet, the one and only the Omnidog. Jess, how are you doing today?
I'm doing peachy. Thank you for asking.
You're most welcome. See, Jess is always so nice and polite that we should all be aspiring to be like that.
Should all be
we
better.
we do know that Jess has a dark side too. It's not
Yeah.
always.
I know about that box in his basement. Yeah.
Yes,
Now Kristen knows about it.
we all
Already
do.
heard about it.
Yeah, so today is a very special episode. So we wanted to do sort of like a publisher spotlight, kind of talk about image. So today's our first pick was Imagecomics because we love Imagecomics, reading about reading all the different books that they come up with, and the stories and everything. So which is, I think, other than DC and Marvel, they're the third largest publisher in the industry. Is that a fair assessment?
That's what I'd call them.
Yeah, I'd say so. I consider them. It's like the big 2.5. They're big.
I'd say the big
almost
three.
The big three. Yeah.
Interesting. And one of the things I've also noticed that, as I was going through the list and stuff, like they have such diverse catalog, in terms of the type of stories. It goes anywhere between high fantasy to high science fiction to everything in the middle. It just and then also so many different writers, so many different artists, and we also when we were talking about we should also talk about books that we didn't quite like. There's not a lot that we could come up with, that books that we didn't care for, so it's a very up and up published comic publisher that I think. So we're excited to talk about them, to see what are all the books that they have offering. And so Jess, why don't you get us started with the history of Imagecomics? How did they started?
Well, this is off the top of my head, so I'll do my best. I'm not the most well versed, but as I recall, this is in the early 90s when Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee, I think they were the three main drivers because they were the three hottest artists in comics. Primarily, they were doing their work for Marvel. They were hot off of Spider-Man, X-Men, and what am I thinking of? New Mutants, I think Rob Liefeld was really hot on. And they were, Todd McFarlane was given his own Spider-Man book to draw and write, but they wanted more control and more money. Who doesn't? So this is what I remember. I'm sure people out there who have a better memory than I do will say I'm wrong, but they took other creators with them. I think Will Portacio was one of them. It was a lot of young guns that they took. Eric Larson was one of them. They took, I think those were like maybe the top 5 guys that started it out. And they started Imagecomics because they just couldn't get enough creator control. They didn't get, I don't know what the pay scale is at Marvel and DC. I don't know, maybe 2% of the profit. And they said, why don't we split off, form our own company, create our own characters, and keep 100% of the profit. So this is America, that's capitalism. So they decided to do it. Now, I personally did not buy a lot of Imagecomics at the time. I know there was Spawn. I know by Todd McFarlane. I know there was Wildcats, I think, by Jim Lee. I know there was Savage Dragon, which is still going, by Eric Larson. And so they created a bunch of, I believe, what you would term their own superhero. What their vision of was their own superhero comics. I don't know how well it went at first for them, because I don't know how much experience they had in publishing comics. So I think they went on for a while, and then some things happened. There may have been some infighting, some things maybe didn't go quite well, and then some grown-ups came in and got things in order, and then you saw writers like Ed Brubaker and all these other writers all of a sudden come in and start to they made it a little more professional, I guess, because there was some infighting. Jim Lee ended up taking Wildstorm, making his own imprint, Wildstorm, selling it to DC. So I think there were some problems there. I haven't watched any of the documentaries, but you can watch. There's at least 2 documentaries about it, because there was a boatload of money to be talked about here, where they were making money hand over fist. And so they created this line, and I think it did well, but to become what it became today, I think Eric Stevenson is who the publisher is now, and I think Eric Larson is maybe Eric Larson's the publisher and Eric Stevenson's the editor. I'm not sure who's in charge, but however they fixed it really well, because now they've got top creators going there, making their own creative books, and keeping all their creative profits to themselves, and they're getting top artists, top writers, top colorists to go and create it. Now, this has been going on for 30 years almost now,
right.
Almost 30 years. So I think It's been a bumpy road, but it is now a publishing powerhouse. And, everything has bumps in the road, potholes and stuff, but I think Todd McFarlane is getting ready to put out a new Spawn book. I have lost track of what Rob Liefeld's besides Twitter. I'm not sure what he's creating, but Eric Larson's still putting out Savage Dragon, and the books I pulled have all kinds of top creators on them. I love to say, guys like Ed Brubaker and Brian K. Vaughan, and the list goes on of people that want to put out their own creator-owned works.
Right.
So it's a powerhouse.
Yeah, and then Robert Kirkman's Walking Dead came out of there, and Saga, Brian K. Vaughan's, and also Monstrous now, Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, who is doing that. It's all coming out of Image, and of course you can see behind me all the oversized hardcover we have. I love their oversized hardcover.
I do too.
No dust jackets.
No dust jacket, first of all, no dust jacket. But on top of that, the production quality of it, it's no one else compares to it. I think Dark Horse's Library Edition is probably a little bit better in terms of size wise, but
they have the ribbon.
Yeah, the ribbon. But the thing is, if you talk about Image oversized, and even for their paperback, the paper quality and everything, it's unparalleled to even Big Two or any of the others. And as I was saying, that there's such a diverse catalog that they have that we need to talk about. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road, and then talk about some of the comics that they put out. So Kristen, why don't you get us going? Let's start with books that you have read and loved, but you don't necessarily hear a lot of people talk about them. because
Okay.
we talk whenever we talk about Image, Walking Dead, Invincible, Saga are probably it's synonymous with Image, but they have so many. So Kristen, why don't you just tell us about some of them?
Well, I feel like I wouldn't be me if I didn't start with Sex Castle by Kyle Starks. Not enough people are talking about it, and it's so good. You got it? You got it? Yeah.
I got it.
Mike,
Ooh,
I forgot I have a
yours looks different than
ton.
mine.
I have a ton of issues of it upstairs, and I forgot I have a whole Image library upstairs. I always forget about it. I only thought about what's down here.
Oh no!
I
But
have
anyway,
it
why
upstairs.
yours look different than mine?
This was the printing before that one.
The special printing.
I mean, he also self-published it before this, so. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, this is my friend Kyle Starks, and if anyone hasn't read this, it is such 80s action movie goodness. I love his art. It's a very cartoony. It really bodes well for the story, but it's about this guy. His last name is Sex Castle, so they call him Sex Castle. It's hard to describe this book without getting into the deeper parts of it, but it's way deeper than just this guy who's gonna punch him up, But it does have those elements. Kyle is amazing at witty, hilarious dialogue, and that's the best thing you're going to take from this. But it also does have a lot of heart that you don't expect, and it really kind of punches you in the gut. I know Faria read this, and I don't think she expected that.
I don't think any of us did, and that's a Kyle Stark special though, because you were like laughing along and you're like ha ha ha, and at the end you're like,
oh no, my heart, I have feelings. Yeah,
I know,
it's a lot.
Yeah, so Sex Castle, I'm glad that you brought it up, so I don't have to talk about it. Anyway.
That's a great one.
What's his book that I love so much with the hobo fights?
That is Rock Candy Mountain, which is also on my list. Is it not on your list, Jess?
That's upstairs with all my Image books.
Well, hey, if you
I
want to
love
talk
that
about
book.
it, I'll show you some
I
art.
love that book.
Yeah.
Tell everyone why you love it.
Hobo fights.
That's it. Well, he says hobo fights, but it's one of those things.
It's so fun.
It's way deeper than just hobo fights.
Yeah, it is. It is really a great book.
This is also illustrated by Kyle. The colors are by Chris Schweitzer, who is fantastic. But yeah, and this is just 2 trades. It is so easy to just pick up and, pick up all of his books. But this one especially is so easy to just pick up, put down. You read it. You loved it. It's fantastic. So
I love that
Rock
book
Candy
so
Mountain.
much.
More people need to be talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that book. I forgot that I had a whole shelf upstairs in the real library of the house that's all Image stuff. I should have grabbed a bunch of stuff. I have plenty to talk about.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean that's the thing, like, because I knew that Kristen's gonna bring up Kyle Stark's book. I didn't pick any of the Kyle Starks because I'm like, Kristen will be on top of that.
Well, and the last thing I have to mention for this specific category is one we just did a whole episode on, and that is Murder Falcon. In fact, in the episode Jess and I just did on his channel, I also talked about this book, but this is the last issue. And
You didn't run and get the first issue?
I should have. I don't know where it is. He's not home. I looked for it and I couldn't find it, and I was very sad. But the art's amazing. This is by Daniel Warren Johnson. If you want to know more about it, I'm just going to tease that other episode so you can check it out, because you're on our channel right now and you can go look at it and get a more in-depth analysis. But we all loved it. It's Freya, Reed, and I, and Reed's my husband, and he loved this. And it's so good. So more people need to be talking about this.
And that episode also have world's first epic internet high five.
High five when we all have mirrored screens and we can't understand it. It's really
we did it. It's hilarious. So you should check that out. It's currently live on our channel, so you can find it. Anyway, anything else?
My other thing, which I don't have near me, but would have been Street Angel by Jim Rugg. That is a good series of books. I think they're coming out with, I don't know when it is, later this year, they're coming out with a big hardcover of like all the ones that they've come out with, because they're kind of thin, like big hardcover. Again, I don't have it near me. But They're really fun. It's just this girl, and she's skating around, and she's homeless, and she's got an attitude, and they're just really fun, short, little books that you can read. Free and I always talk about Hoopla. You can read them on Hoopla real quick and just have a good time. So they're solid.
Okay, you just talk about Hoopla. Guess what I was doing?
Yeah.
You guys.
I got out Hoopla, looked for Street Angel, favorited it. You know that shit is gonna get bad.
Yeah, they're really fun. I gotta say, there's not a lot of depth to them at all. It is not like anything that I've talked about so far. All the Kyle books and Murder Falcon, Deep Heart, you're not gonna find much depth with Street Angel. I feel like they're solid, like right in the middle for me every time. But they're fun, and Jim Rugg is great, and you'll have a good time.
Yeah, but see, we talked about it just before. Like the catalog is so expensive that So anyway, Jess, what? So is that it? Like, is there any more?
That's what I got.
What are we talking about? Books we love?
We're talking about the books that we read and loved, but you don't hear too many people talk about them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I have a whole stack of those.
That's why we have you here.
Right on, man. I talked about these two on the previous show that I did with Kristen, but you may have different viewers. This one is Image. It's called Infinite Dark. Ooh. And it is, I got it from my friend Kyle. I also have a friend named Kyle. He didn't write this, though. The universe has ended, and all that's left is this single, solitary spaceship that's left in the middle of it that was built to house these dying planets that were sending ships to it. You see them now exploding as they get to it. So these are the last remaining humans in the universe on this spaceship. No, I did not zone out mention of Hoopla. I just get bummed out that I don't have it. And so entropy is swallowing up everything. Suns, stars, alien races, everything. The only thing that exists now is this spaceship. And entropy is now trying to collapse in on this spaceship and space station, rather. And it's what they are doing to try and survive because entropy has now manifested itself in the minds of some of these people as a living being, and entropy wants the ship gone so that a new Big Bang can happen and that new worlds can start to exist again. This is the last thing that exists, and entropy wants it gone. This is a one and done. Volume 2 is coming out, but this ending was so perfect that I don't know that I told Kristen I don't know that I need to read volume 2 because the ending was so organically done that I'm not sure I need to read the further adventures. I'm going to wait and see, but I feel like I'm fine with just that. So
just to interject in that time, because the way Image Model works, I think they only fund the first volume. So I think a lot of creators who are new to the industry, their stories are pretty much one and done. They try to do it that way. And if it does well, they come back with volume 2. So it's very possible that the creators probably thought that, oh, this is our one shot at it. Then now it sold very well that they are going for volume 2. It's possible.
And before I judge it, which is something I don't like in people that prejudge things. So now I'm doing it myself. It could be a completely different story. So just because it's Infinite Dark Volume 2, it may not be the same take on this story. So I will wait and see. But this book is wonderful, and I loved it a lot.
All right.
And continuing on the infinite theme, the Infinite Horizon is a Punisher-type character who has a wife and child at home. He's in Afghanistan serving when the world goes to hell. Chinese invade Taiwan. They destroy our satellites. Somebody has assassinated the Saudi royal family, blown up all the Saudi oil wells. America's under martial law. and this guy has to fight his way back to America and his wife and son. And it doesn't happen quickly, as you can see. It's a thick trade paperback, not thick, but I mean, it's a real story of what he has to go through. He ends up on a boat that gets pirated. He has a run-in with a Russian, almost superhuman guy. Planes crash, and he ends up in Africa with a broken leg, and just he goes through hell many times to try and get back to his wife, who's dealing with a crisis that she is in charge of. She's in charge of a farm, and her story's in here too. She's in charge of a farm where the water that goes down to New York City originates, and she has the water rights, and she's trying to keep those water rights with there being virtually no law. All she's got is some neighbors who slowly start to turn on her because her husband's not there to protect her. She does a good job while she can. But this is a remarkable book that is by Jerry Dugan with art by Phil Noto. And it is it's very believable about how things can go completely wrong in the world like that, and what one man can do to try and get back to the United States and what he has to go through. It's amazing.
Nice. And Jerry Dugan is one of my favorite because I met him, and he was so nice. So anything by Jerry Dugan, I'm gonna read it. So
well, then you need to pick up this book.
Yeah,
it's on Hoover.
Already added to my list. All right, is there another one?
Oh, well, I have a whole stack of. You want me to just talk about one and dones or books I like?
Books you like that no one talks about.
Oh, that no one talks about. Okay, well, no one talks about Forgetless.
Oh boy.
This is, I'm going to read from the back like Kristen always likes. Forgetless is the biggest party in New York, but now it's ending. On the final guest list, Sarah and Sonia, struggling models turned professional killers. Derek, a failed t-shirt maker and hypnotist assistant turned YouTube impresario. Okay, now I got to be careful because this is way raunchy. It's told in social media format, so it's really cool. Once their twisted paths cross, it'll be a miracle if any of them live to see last call. So it's really it's by Nick Spencer. It's very funny. It's very twisted, and it's really original the way it's told in social media format. And it's about a party that never ends. And wait, can I show this? Yeah, I think I can show this. No, I don't think I can show this. Can I show this? Yeah, I think so. So the art's really fun, and the colors are really cool, and it's considered a crime book, and I just think okay, I cannot show that. No, can't show that. It's really raunchy, but it's really funny. Nick Spencer just amps it up and really does a really good job at just being really funny. And if you've read some of his funnier stuff, he does a really good job telling this book in like social media format. And it's Forgetless is just really great.
And it's not on Hoop.
I bet it's not.
I wonder why.
Well, no, Hoopla has Saga. If Hoopla has Saga,
true.
Yeah, but
no, I don't know. This book is
like that's different.
NC-17 for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Saga is pretty out there, like I think. But Nick Spencer's like Superior Spider-Man. If the humor level is the same as that, and also the what is it? The Ant-Man one. I forgot
Oh yeah.
Astonishing Ant-Man. I mean, in both cases, like so funny. Like Nick Spencer, you can trust him if you want that sort of like, haha, funny. So, all right. So, I think like, that kind of gives you some idea. So I want to talk about a couple of mine because I feel like that will coincide with Jess's. You guys already talked about, like, Kristen already talked about Sex Castle. The first one, Copperhead, that, I absolutely loved it. It's about a mom who moves to this distant colony in Mars or somewhere, and it's like a low life colony, and she moves there with her son and tries to bring some law to the land. It's by J. Farber and art by Scott Godlewski, who later left, and there was a different artist that took over for this, and it's pretty good. Oh my god, how does it do? Yeah, there you go. It's pretty good in terms of the art and stuff, but the story, it's just so poppy and very different. You wouldn't expect people to no one. It starts as a stereotype, but kind of moves away. It always starts with like, oh, she's racist, but then realize, oh, she's not racist. There's layers to things. Its 4 volume is currently out. Volume 5, I email Jay Farber every other month, like, hey, are you done? Are you done? And then he stopped responding. So I don't know. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure, I think by the end of this year or early next year, the volume 5 will be here, and that will be the end of it. So that's that. The Fuse. This is that no one talks about. Everyone should be talking about this because this is starring a Russian police in a spaceship that is it's providing the energy to the world. That's the purpose of it, and it's called a Fuse. And she's just so cranky. Oh my god, I loved her so much. I don't know why, guys. And she gets settled with this young police cop that she's like young meat and stuff, and they just have nonstop, it's just a nonstop action comedy, like police procedural, not action comedy, like police procedural, but with a lot of interesting characters that they have to deal with and stuff like that. It's done only 4 volume. It's perfect. I really liked where they ended it. I mean, it kind of ends like, oh, if they want, they can come back. I don't necessarily need that, but the Fuse, it's no one talks about it. Everyone should, and you should go read it.
I agree.
Then Bedlam by Nick Spencer. It's kind of like a Batman Joker ripoff, I think. But it's from the point of view of Joker, kind of like that. It's very wild, and it has a Nick Spencer humor in it, a lot. So the art is by Riley Rosmo. But look at the art. Let's see if I can make myself bigger. I really like it. It's just very the colors are, the red is the main color in most cases. And yeah, it's pretty, I like the story from the point of view that it's bananas. And I don't want to give it away, but it's actually Joker, pretty much what do you call it? A thesis on Batman and Joker's relationship, pretty much. Now, this book, it really changed my life. I'm not joking. It changed my outlook on life. It changed the way I think, the way I, carry myself, everything. I talked about it in Peter's channel, the 20 X-Men question. We talked about this, and so this is the book I have to talk about. It's Pax Romana by Jonathan Hickman.
I almost picked that book.
So the story of this book is a bunch of human goes back in time, before Christ. And, I think it's a couple of days after Christ's death. And they change entire human history. And what happens, they stop all war. They stop, all the people who were supposed to be stopping progression of science. And in the end, and this is not a spoiler because it's a very philosophical, you have to kind of read it. It's a lot of words, guys, not a lot of thing happening. It's very, very highbrow, highbrow fantasy. Jonathan Hickman actually drew it as well. He wrote and drew it, which he doesn't do a lot anymore. It's very done in a way of like style, like stylistic drawing, I think they would like to call it. And at the end, what happens is like human went to Mars in 14th century. Like that's like none of the Dark Ages happened, none of the things happened. It changed my life because it just made me so angry.
That's what did it?
So angry. Like we could have done so much, but we hold ourselves back for stupid argument about race, sex, gender, sexual orientation, and we keep people down when we could have done so much more. Like it just this outlook, like it's like, I don't know, everything that I absolutely is love. The next one is Kelly Sue DeConnick's Bitch Planet. Oh no, wrong one. Sorry, it's not the Pretty Deadly. I picked the wrong one. This is supposed to be for another thing. Pretty Deadly.
Right.
Because that's a book I didn't read and I'm looking forward to. But Pretty Deadly by Kelly Sue DeConnick, it's a high fantasy. I mean, talking about like everything. Like we just talked about a high sci-fi. The next one, Kelly Sue DeConnick's Pretty Deadly, is a high fantasy in a world where it's very like, it's hard to explain because I think it's mostly about finding one's destiny, and it's just so lyrically written. It's very like magical, and then the art by Emma Rios is just so gorgeous. And I'm so sad that it doesn't have an oversized hardcover. That book of every one of them needs an oversized hardcover. And oh my God, that's a book that it needs to be read. And the last one, Old Guard by Greg Rucka. Oh my God. This is just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's like, these immortals, they are living in our world and they just decide to go become assassins. And that's what they do. They assassinate people, and how it's like, like they have this like camaraderie between themselves because, among themselves, because these are the only people they know for years and years and been together. And it's a very interesting idea about immortality because you don't know how it's going to, they don't know that if the next time they die, whether they're going to come back. There is no limitation. There is no set time. There is no set rule. So in a way, there is a conflict, which we don't see in a lot of time when immortality is kind of a concept. But in this case, there is. So Volume 1 is kind of one and done, if you but the Volume 2 was solicited and then canceled. However, Greg Rucka is actually directing the movie for this. And Charlize Theron is going to be the lead. So the movie is currently, I think, shooting already. So The Old Guard by Greg Rucka and what's his name? I'm sorry. I know the artist's name, Leandro Fernandez. So I'm not too hot on the art, but that story, oh my God, it needs to be read. So yeah, so these are the books that I've read and loved, but I don't hear a lot of people talk about. But now you all should read it too.
Awesome.
Yeah, I loved Old Guard. I loved all the books you picked.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure Jess have read every one of them. But okay, so I think like the next one, the miniseries, I mean, some of it kind of came over here, but is there any other like miniseries you guys want to talk about that we, that was canceled too soon and you think should have gone on, but, because
I don't know about ending too soon, but I do have one I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
I think it was fine with 3 volumes. I don't know if you agree, but Royal City by Jeff Lemire, I thought 3 volumes, this is all it needs, and it was told very beautifully. And there was no hockey for Faria.
No, there is no hockey. I was so shocked.
That's why Faria liked it.
It's such a good book.
It's so good.
I mean, there was like so many twists and turns. Oh my god.
Yes.
What's the story about?
Well, and that's hard to describe without getting really spoily, but it's mostly about this main guy here. Where is he? I hate this flipped image we have. I can never get used to it. So it always looks stupid for a second. But he goes back home because his father is ill, and there's all this crazy stuff that happens with his family. There's ghosts, or is there? And there's things happening, or are they? And like Faria said, there's a lot of twists and turns, and you should read it. There's only 2 volumes,
and it's completely, the twists and turns are very slice of life. Like it's a very much of a family drama. Like it's not, it's not like any sci-fi element going on. It's not like they're in a different world, different thing. It's in our world, and it's like absolutely just just like people drama. I did. And I also, once again, why this doesn't have a hardcover, oversized hardcover?
Well, I mean, that all depends on sales, doesn't it? I don't know how it's sold.
It's Jeff Lemire.
I know, but at the same time, I almost put this in the category of no one ever talks about this book. This is like the one Jeff Lemire book that I never hear people mention.
That's true.
It is weird.
If it only
because
had
it's so
hockey
good
in it.
Well, maybe that's why. Maybe people were like, well, there's no hockey, I'm not reading it, forget it.
There is like one character in it, though, who was primed to be an ex-retired hockey player. I was like, why is he not an ex-retired hockey player? The brother that is like a washed up.
Oh.
He
why?
Because,
why do you say that?
Because I wanted it
just
to be.
Because.
Just
okay.
Because. All right. So the next category we had was image series you love. What are you talking about? This category, one and done volume books that was canceled too soon. Oh, canceled too soon. Our creators moved away. Is there any that comes to mind? Like
yeah.
Plus
Manhattan Projects.
Oh no.
East of West. Come on, Hickman. What are you doing with House of X and Power of 10? You're going to be on that for the Hawks for the next 5 years, and I'm not going to get my Manhattan Projects 3 or East of West 3. East
of X is actually a 9. Like, trade paperback wise, it's 9. But
well, I'm thinking of oversized hardcover.
No, but I do think that East of X, he's done writing it.
Oh, he is? Okay.
I think that's the one, because he talked about it, that East of West will be done. Like, that's something he promised. But then again, he lies in his Twitter all the time. So,
well, I know he's abandoned Manhattan Projects. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Manhattan Project is done. But yeah, like, that's the one. For me, I think it would be Bedlam as well, because Nick Spencer just left that thing, like, dropped it like it's hot and went to Marvel.
Yeah. Let's see. I think all those. I would like to say, I'd like to circle back to what you said in the very, very, very beginning about the quality of their books, because I didn't get a chance to say it. Those Remender oversized books are fantastic.
Yes, I have one in front of me.
They're the best.
Yeah, like, those things.
They are very nice.
Amazing.
Right. So this is in for comparison. This is our normal, oversized, and this is a Remender size, I like to call it.
Yeah, and that's what his books come out in, and. Things like Deadly Class and Black Science and Low and Tokyo Ghost are just remarkable. I look forward to Remender books coming out in that size. I know this is a tangent, but I just wanted to put a plug in for how high quality and brilliant those are.
Right. And the thing is, here's a question though. Is this only for Remender books? Because
I guess I never see anything else that's.
I believe he demands it.
Oh, he demands it.
I mean, I don't know about demands, but he makes it. He's like, I want my books in this size. That's what I want.
Freddie Alonso also said Kelly Sue abandoned Beach Planet. I saw on IG she mentioned of thinking about returning to it. That is true. She did abandon that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah. Okay, Tokyo Ghost. We took a tangent over there, but yeah. Anything else comes to mind that abandoned, and you were like, oh damn. I really hope Copperhead is not abandoned.
I hope so too. I love that book.
I would be really upset about that. So yeah, that's pretty much, that's kind of settles that. So let's then shift gears to talk about least favorite, which kind of like, I mean, we talked about it a little. We don't. Anyway, Kristen, why don't you start us off?
Kristen, we can do it on 3.
Oh.
1, 2, 3.
Plutona. Yeah.
And that's big coming from Kristen, because Kristen loves Jeff Lemire. Kristen has a tattoo, not of Jeff Lemire, but of
his face.
Of his face, yeah.
Oh, you do?
No. But I have an Essex County tattoo. Yeah, that's
okay. That's cool.
Yeah, that's over here. That's right
look
over
at
here.
that.
Oh, right on, man.
Yeah, so Kristen and both just saying like Plutona is not. It's here. So I'm gonna let you guys talk. I'm gonna move out of here.
Okay, so Emmy Lennox does the art, and she is fabulous, and I actually really like the art. But oh my gosh, that story, like, it just ended. It's one of those books, and I complain about this all the time, where the ending, it just ended and like nothing happened. There was no character development, and these kids find a body in the woods, and why aren't you calling the police? I know that always happens with kids in the woods stories with bodies, but I can't stand it because it's so stupid. And there was this superhero element, but like nothing happened. It was a big pile of nothing. It was nothing burger, and I didn't want to eat it, but I ate it, and I was like, why did I waste my time?
I would love to improve on that, but I don't think I can.
No, Kristen do not care for nothing burgers. Like, do not give Kristen nothing burgers.
Well, it's a waste of time. We have so much to read and so little time. And, and I love Jeff Lemire, so I will keep reading whatever he puts out. But I'm going to be honest about it. That's my thing. I'm not blindly loving people here. I don't Plutona, do not read it.
Yeah, it was nothing that went nowhere fast and had nothing going on in it. It just ended up being a blah book that did nothing for me, and I was super disappointed. And if it wasn't Jeff Lemire, I would have poured root beer on it.
Ooh,
saying a lot.
That's the only thing that kept me from pouring root beer on it.
That's like, that is not good then.
And I don't have it to show you because I gave it away or threw it away.
Yeah,
I don't know which.
All right, Kristen, what's next?
I also have the book Little Girls. Faria has heard me talk about this one. This came out somewhat recently. I feel like a few months ago. I read it on Hoopla. I'm still angry to this day that I wasted a Hoopla checkout on it because, oh my God, the entire time. And I hate, trashing someone to work so much, right? But it was so bad. The story was so bad. The art was like, whoa, how is Image putting this out?
Who wrote it?
I gotta look it up. I don't even know. I tried to block the whole thing from my mind.
Okay,
and then Freya was like least favorites. No, I'm looking at it. But it was like, and it was kind of a nothing burger too. Like, this somewhat interesting plot started, and I thought it was going to develop, and then it just didn't, and then it ended, and it was like, what kind of ending was that? And it was a super waste of my time, and I did not appreciate it, and I'm still offended by that.
And here's the thing, though. We gotta say that Kristen sometimes lets go of her Hoopla credit because, it's like she didn't have time. She didn't. Yeah, it's fly away, but she's upset that she wasted. Kristen doesn't get upset about free books, but she's upset about this.
I gave it 1 whole star on Goodreads. If I could give it less, I would have.
Is that what you put in your criticism of it?
You know what? I should have reviewed it, but it has an average of 2.78 stars on Goodreads. So that tells you what people think about this book. It's not just me.
If Goodreads have anything less than 3.5, it's bad news. It's really bad news. Yeah, they kind of go by their thing is like the way people always do it. It's like kind of very much like of a video game kind of thing. Like 7 is terrible. So they're like, they're kind of like that as well.
If you do want to have a little fun though, type in Little Girls on Goodreads, find this book. It is written by Nicholas, I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm not even going to try. So Nicholas, no.
Nicholas Bedwritery?
No, I don't know who that is. Oh, Bedwritery. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. I was like, I don't get your joke. my thing was cutting out, so I couldn't understand you. I'm sorry. But yeah, go through the reviews because I'm doing that right now, and it's so good. There are so many 1 stars. This 1 star started with, I seriously need a lobotomy after this.
Oh my God.
So a lot of people didn't like it. It wasn't just me. But yeah, that'll be some enjoyment for you. I do have 2 more on my least favorite list. The Weatherman. I heard a lot of praise for this. I read the first volume. I regret it to this day. There are some panels of animal abuse that I cannot get out of my head. It was horrific. It's one of those things that didn't need to be shown.
I hope I don't own that book. That sounds familiar to me. I haven't read it, but if I own it, I'll get rid of it.
It just, I don't know how I kept going after that. It was very difficult, and it was just too graphic. It was one of those things. It's like, if you're going to do it, why do it? And it's unnecessary. I don't know. That alone and the story itself, I didn't love, but that especially was just like, wow. And it involves a dog, and it was terrible. So didn't like that at all. And the other thing I didn't quite hate, but I did not like, and that would be Snot Girl. And some people love it, and I love Brian Lee O'Malley, but I read that first volume and I was like, what's happening? Like, what is actually happening? And I didn't like any of the characters, and it wasn't for me. So yeah, I
think is that book is also abandoned or it's done? Because
I have no idea. Yeah, that could be one of those. I feel like there's only 2 volumes, but I don't think it's ended.
Okay, interesting.
Plenty of snot to go around.
Jess, why don't you tell us some of your not so favorites?
I think it is just Plutona, to be honest with you.
Oh, interesting. Plutona gets a lot of hate, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah,
from us.
The other thing. I mean, I could go in my my library box room where I'm going to donate a bunch of books to the library for books that I'm giving away, and there could be some image books in there, but any books that I don't like at all, I tend to just get rid of right away and erase them from my memory. And it took Kristen to remind me of Plutona. So if I don't dump root beer on them and I just don't like them, I just donate them right away. So
outside, out of mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the books that I quite, to me, I was actually looking at them, looking at the list. I'm like, well, I didn't hate it. I just like, there was like a big nothing burgers, in a way. Or the one that I really don't like is like a high potential and never going anywhere. Like that really hurts me more than straight up bad. Like, if it's straight up bad. And so the first one that I recently read was Skyward by Joe Henderson.
Oh, that's right. Now we start the portion of the show where I disagree with Faria on everything.
Right.
I didn't love it either. I was fine. I felt like Skyward was right in the middle for me. It was fine.
I love Skyward.
Yeah, it was like I did not care for that ending, like because it has such a high and a lot of potential. But the thing is, the world building didn't make sense. Everything could be taken apart. They had plot convenience aspect of it, like where it's like gravity worked at one time, it didn't work at the other time. Whenever the plot required gravity to work, it was working. Like it had no rules, nothing. And the ending was like, okay, so what happened? We just went to this place, we found this, and then it was and why did the dad have to die? It was just every one of it. Like Kristen and I were both like, no.
It's one of those things. There's 1 volume left, right?
Yeah.
No, I read all of it. I read all all 15 issue.
Well, isn't there a volume 3 coming?
Yeah, I read that too.
That's out?
Oh no, it's not out, but I read it.
Oh.
I read it.
You read?
Okay.
You read it on Comixology or something?
Yeah, I read it. Because I'm like, I'm not giving this shit any money, so I'm gonna read it. So I finished. So I finished it, and then I took the first 2 from Hoopla, and then I'm like, I'm gonna finish this, and I did, and I'm like, I shouldn't have finished it. I should have just that it served me right. So yeah, and then the next one was Self-Made by Matt Groom. It's okay, but it's his first time writing, so I am going to give it a little bit. I'm going to be less harsh to it because I feel like it falls in the trap of first-time writer. Like a lot of idea, no direction, So it's like, there's the whole idea of like free will versus predestination, those kind of thing. And there's a lot of ideas that was going through that. But the world, it was okay. It's a very much of to me like a 2.5 out of 5, if you know what I mean. It's very, very down the road, and I could see a lot of more things happening. So I don't know. I kind of feel bad giving it putting it in this category, but it gotta go somewhere. Spread by Justin Jordan. It was a great start, but I think it outstayed its welcome. Like it could have, instead of like 25 issue, it should have been a strict 20, and I think it would have been fine. I think it would have been just fine at that point. But it also, the protagonist reminded me of Wolverine too much. So I'm like, why is this story here? Like, what your protagonist is like Logan. Like, it's nothing different about it, and it just like I don't know. I was not feeling it. Say and that's pretty much like the very recent one that comes to mind. If there's other bad ones I read, my memory just chucked them, and I don't own them anymore, so I can't even show remind myself. So anyway, so from the most least favorite, let's go on to most favorites. So Kristen, let's get that on the road. What are some of your most favorite?
Okay. Well, I feel like everyone's going to mention Saga.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on the list. I don't need to tell anybody what that is. Royal City, I loved it. So I'm going to throw that one up there. Nailbiter, which is behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't own, so I can't show you. Postal, which is finally going to have a hardcover of the whole thing.
But
we
I'm
all love
paying
that.
extra for the dust jacket.
And we're not gonna. So let's make debate. And then Chew.
Yes.
Everyone loves Chew, right?
Everyone loves Chew.
Oh yeah, I got Poyo right here. Come on, look at this guy. I got Chog right here. I got everything.
Oh my god! So you're a huge Chew fan. Like you went in and you got all the things.
John Layman convinced me to buy these, so I did. He gave me a deal. Because I was staring at Poyo. I was like, do I need this? Do I? Reed, do I need this? And John's like, you need it. Also, you need this. I was like, all right.
John Layman is a very nice guy.
Yeah, he was very nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so anything else?
Well, those are 5. If we're just naming other ones.
Go for it. Other ones we kind of didn't capture in any of the discussion. So, go for it.
Currently coming out, but I don't know how it's going to end. I'm loving Farmhand.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I got to read that.
Volume 1 was really great. I think that's going to be a great one. Middle West, I also loved Volume 1. Yeah, I don't know. And there's stuff I'm looking forward to, but we're not there yet. Oh, Descender as well is fantastic.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm going to say Descender is like the one that I'm waiting for the volume to come out to get the 2 oversized, but I've already read it. I really love Hope.
Of course. I'm looking forward to Ascender. I think that will also be good.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. So, Jess, what are some of your most favorite?
Lazarus.
Mm-hmm.
Love Lazarus. I love anything Ed Brubaker, like Fatale or The Fade Out.
Mm-hmm.
Velvet.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Lake of Fire.
Okay.
I loved
Who was that by? Lake of Fire?
Nathan Nathan Fairbairn. Fairbairn.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Blackbird.
All
Oh,
right.
that was great.
Yeah.
That was great.
I love that, and I think we're getting another volume.
Yeah, it didn't end.
Yeah, it didn't end, and it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And one Kristen named Middle West.
Mm-hmm.
Really loved it. How many more categories, or is this it?
This is it, kind of, because the next
Okay.
one is about what we are looking forward to. So
Okay, good. Ravine by Ron Mars, with art by that guy's name that nobody knows how to pronounce, but we all love his art. Stefan Sajic.
Stefan Sajic. Yeah, Stefan Sajic. Okay. If you showed us his art, we would be able to tell you, because his art is so distinct. Like, you see that art, you're like, yep, it's that guy.
Sunstone. I might as well come out and say it. I love Sunstone. Whoops, can I show you this? No. Anyway, Ravine has two, and then another swords and fantasy book is Rain, which I loved. It's a 10-issue fantasy sci-fi book.
You're right.
Wait, what was the last part? Jess is what?
The only one who has to be there for whole 24 hours. But kiss ass. But anyway, just joking.
Yeah, so those are some of my faves.
Of all of us, Jess is the only one who I think can go for 24 hours, just talk about comics. Rest of us will need breaks.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about taking a nap after this.
Oh my god.
I forgot to mention I Hate Fairyland. That's also
good. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And now volume 2 of that comes out soon, right?
Next month.
So. Mm-hmm.
Next month.
Okay.
Because that's on the book. So most of the ones that you guys talked about, I'm not gonna mention that. Chew is on my list as well. Like, Chew, I love that book. Saga, obviously everyone loves it. It's there, but it hasn't ended yet. So I'm a little, so the one, and also another one that I am reading currently, and I loved everything I read so far, Monstrous.
Oh yeah, God, how could I forget that? What a brilliant book!
Sana Takeda. Oh my God, the art of that is just breathtaking.
That's some world building there too.
That's some interesting world building. I'm trying to kind of get the hang on. Anyway, so if you want to see the art, just look at them. It's amazing. It's just unbelievably beautiful. And this, I don't know if oversized hardcover, the idea of that didn't exist before this. This is 100% the reason to create it. This is the reason. This art is the reason why that exists. So Monster, but it's ongoing. I don't know how it's gonna end. It does look awesome. World in Ink, he's talking about the deluxe is awesome. I got mine 2 days ago after the first one was damaged. Same story.
That's why I didn't order from Barnes & Noble. But I tried to find it in the store. All 3 copies they had were damaged in the store. So I don't have that. Yeah.
And then Velvet. We just talked about it. I love Velvet. It's it's Ed Brubaker is one of the best. To me, in my headcanon this is Black Widow in her retirement time. Older Black Widow. I don't know. This is my headcanon. That's what I'm going with this. Velvet by Ed Brubaker. This is the one, Alex and Ada.
I love that.
Jonathan Luna and Josh, I think what's his name? Jonathan Luna and this is actually only Jonathan Luna. It's not, his brother is not part of this. I did not know that. It's Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughn as the story and script. This is it's one of those stories you think it's going one way. The synopsis tells you one way. It actually goes in a very different way. I do not care for the Luna Brothers other stuff. The Sword is okay, but I really liked Sword, but their Ultra was horrible. But anyway, so this is the one. And this another book, We Stand on Guard by Brian K. Vaughan. It's because I'm Canadian American. It's a very important story for me because it's pretty much like America just invaded Canada and how Canada was like, bye bye. Like, but I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. And then this one, I Kill Giant by Joe Kelly. You know,
brilliant.
Yeah, Joe Kelly and J.M. Nimura. It will hurt you. It's a heartful book. I don't want to tell you anything about it. You need to read it. Go read it because I Kill Giant is pretty bad. Like, you know, pretty bad. Yeah. Anyway, and what else is out there? That's pretty much what I like, you know, some of my most favorite. And then let's talk about books that we are looking forward to.
Yeah. Let's see. Kill or Be Killed. I think all three of us are looking forward to that.
Yep. I have the trade paperbacks, but I want to see what that looks like when it comes out in hardcover. Sea
of Stars, Free and I mentioned that we're looking forward to that one. That's Jason Aaron, right?
Jason Aaron and his name? Sorry, Dennis Hopeless.
Oh yeah, the new Postal series. I think again we're all three looking forward to that one. Outer Darkness is currently coming out. Well, I think there's a trade out. I'll have to read that on Hoopla, but I haven't. It's John Layman's new book. Ascender, like I mentioned before. Family Tree by Jeff Lemire was just announced. And I actually have some stuff I haven't read yet. Maybe you guys have. Motor Crush. I need to read this.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of that, but I don't know anything about it.
I don't really either, but it looks really cool. So I need to read that. And Curse Words, I also need to read.
No, you don't.
I don't. Sad. I only have the first trade, so I'm not out that much. But
go ahead and read it, but nah.
You didn't like it?
I hated that book.
Oh, that should have been on your least favorite list, man.
I forgot it was by Image. I gave it away. I remember specifically I gave it away for in the group for someone to just pay postage for it. Yeah, wow. I gave it. It's not in this house anymore. I exercised it.
Well, that's a bummer.
I didn't even wait for it to finish. I just said, "Be gone, evil spirit."
Well, it's something Faria just mentioned, and you both loved, and I just haven't read this yet, and that would be Velvet. This is actually my dad's copy that I've had forever, and he's probably very mad I haven't read it. So I will be reading this soon. Dad, I'm sure you're watching later. Your
dad reads comics? That is so cool!
Oh, yeah, he's a huge comic guy. He loves Brubaker stuff, and I'm like, I read his Fade Out copy. I loved it. I need to read this.
Oh, I want to meet your dad.
He always says Jess knows his stuff. He watches. Awesome. He's like, I like you and Jess together. I'm like, oh, thanks.
I love him already.
He's cool.
I bet.
But yeah, those are what's on my list. How about you guys?
I don't have a list because I don't know what's coming out. Everything you said sounds good, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy to just jump into, like, the new Image stuff and see what's up, especially with their volume ones being so cheap. It's hard not to, you know. And if you have Hoopla, all the Image stuff is on there.
So things that I am looking forward to are everything that I think Middle West. I haven't read that yet. And then
so good.
Then also Curse Words. I was looking forward to it. Now I don't know.
So lame.
So lame. Oh my god. Now I don't know about it because I was kind of really looking forward to it.
Here, I wrote a song about it. So lame. So lame. La 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 la. So lame. So lame. God.
Yeah. Ice Cream Man. Iron Cardinal is talking
Ice
about
Cream Man.
it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I read half that first volume and I liked it.
Okay. I'm planning on reading that. East of West by Jonathan Hickman and Black Monday Murders. Those are the two Jonathan Hickman books I haven't read yet.
Black Monday Murders is really good.
Farmhand by Rob Gorey. Looking forward to that. I Hate Fairyland. I think I already talked about it. Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. so the 6th one is coming out in September 6th, I believe. So I'm going to get the last 2 on Hoopla, and then the first 2 I have the oversized hardcover. Then also Lazarus by Greg Rucka. The 3rd oversized hardcover is coming out soon. It's, I think, coming out in October, I believe, or soon. So yeah, Ascenders, World is Inc. talking about it. Yes, and yes, you are right. The volume 1s doesn't seem to be discounted anymore. Because before the volume 1s used to be $9.99, now they're $14.99. So
I did notice like something that came out recently was still $9.99. So I'm confused about how they're doing that, because I thought it had changed too, and then I got something and I was like, this is still.
I think it's depend on the artist, like the creators. If the creators are well known, they moved it to $14.99, or if it's like a second time they're writing it, it feels like it. If it's a debut creator, they're still keeping it $9.99.
Weird.
Yeah, Nailbiter is another one. Looking forward to reading that because Kristen praised it. Wicked and the Divine, Sex Criminal, both I'm looking forward to.
Do you like everything on my shelf?
Everything on my shelf, pretty much, because everything else that I wanted to show, I brought that out here to talk about it. Outcast, I was looking forward to it, but Jess doesn't recommend that. Exactly. So that's why I do have the 2 hardcover. I think one of them Jess donated one to me, and the second one I got it for like $10 or $5.
I donated it to you. I thought you were my friend. Why did I donate that to you?
I'm telling you, Jess. I think we were enemies at one point.
I don't think so. We've had a long string of friendship. I cannot imagine I gave Outcast to you.
I don't know. I have to check on it. Unnatural by Mirka Andolfo. It's a very much of a sexy time comic, I like to call it. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And then Infidel by.
Oh, really good.
Is it? But
really good.
Yeah. So as a Muslim person, I wanted to kind of read it to kind of see what's going on, because the main character is Muslim. So I'm kind of, and it's supposed to be a horror, but mostly and also Birthright by Josh Williamson. Anyone read this?
I need to read that.
I need to read it too, because I have this, but I've never read it. So
I also have it and haven't read it.
It's a hardcover. It's a little hardcover.
Okay. Speaking of, and so those are the ones that I'm looking forward to, and then also like the one that Kristen talked about, Sea of Stars, Coffin Bound, which they've been really hardcore, talking about it. That's the one that I'm looking forward to, and Jeff Lemire has a new one coming out soon.
Family
Tree.
Imagecomics.
Yeah, Family Tree. So I wasn't sure. Is that a sequel to Royal City, you think, or? I
don't think it said that. No, I think it's different.
Okay, yeah. So that's another one that I'm looking forward to. So, and then I think what's the other one? Monstrous, as it's ongoing. More. I want more of that. But
I forgot to mention Assassination, which I read the first issue and it was great.
Yes.
That is Kyle Stark's new book with Erica Henderson on art, and it was so fun and so good. It's just going to be a one and done trade. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, I forgot to mention this is image books people don't talk about, because again, I just forgot about it because no one talks about it. That would be Moonstruck. I really have been enjoying Moonstruck. I read the first volume and it was really fun. Hoopla girl, get it.
Who's it by?
I don't even remember their names. So I don't know. I don't own it. It was on Hoopla. But it was
good. But,
yeah, I liked it.
We have never an attention problem.
We're like, who's by? I don't know.
But okay, all right. So that's that. Anything else to add? Any of the other ones? Like any books that we forgot to talk about?
Gideon Falls is also great. Yeah, that's one we didn't mention.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next volume of that.
Yeah. Okay. So this one, Moonstruck has 1 and 2 out. They have 2.
Yeah, I think I've read both, but I can't remember now.
Moonstruck. What's it about?
It's like this. Everyone's like a different creature in this world, but it's kind of slice of life within it. It's fantasy slice of life. So like, There's like two main characters, and they're both girl creatures, and they fall in love, and it's about their life. But then there's also this fantasy aspect that happens within it, and they deal with things. I don't know. I liked it. It's been a bit since I've read it. I don't know if you can tell, but it's good.
And no one talks about Emma-Rios's Mirror. That is 100% true. That is also, I'm so sorry that I forgot to talk about that, because that it's I have it also on my list of books that I want to read. Emma Rios, she was the one who did the art for Pretty Deadly, and she's writing and drawing it. So
is that collected yet?
There's 2 collected editions so far.
Of Mirror?
Say that again?
Of Mirror?
Yes.
Oh, so I'll check that out. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, so that's another one that everyone talks about. Like, no one talks about, and everyone should. But because just for the art, everyone should talk about the art, because I just kind of flipped through that, and oh my god, some World in Ink. He or she is asking, how is the rest of the Magic Order? Read issue 1, and it seems interesting. It's on my Hoopla favorite. I favorited it in Hoopla.
I think Jess loved it, right?
Yoink!
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Loved it.
Okay, there you go. So that's a ringing endorsement for that.
Yeah, and this is Mark Millar, a Netflix book. So he's, I know he's got a big deal going with. The art is crazy good. Olivier Olivier, whatever. It's by a good artist, and I think it's fantastic. I know people love to hate on Mark Millar, but I think this is a very strong book.
Interesting. That's what I heard too. Like, a colleague of mine also told me the same thing. It's like, Mark Millar, it's kind of, but this is good. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Then someone, Aaron Cardinal, he mentions Blackbird. We talked about it.
Just talked about that. It's awesome.
I'm also looking forward to that. So yeah,
Grace Ellis wrote Moonstruck. I feel like I need to say that now. Thank you, Worlds in Ink. She's done stuff for like Lumberjanes, so I enjoy her writing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, I think everyone worked on Lumberjanes a little bit, but that's
everyone I like.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was gonna say. Like, everyone we love worked on it. So one of the things I wanted to mention, we went the entire Image series is an episode about Image series without mentioning Invincible and Walking Dead.
I love what I've read of The Walking Dead, but I haven't finished it, and I have not read Invincible.
Yeah, because I feel like Robert Kirkman's book are popular, yet it's no one's favorite list. I don't know.
I feel like it would be there, but I just haven't finished it. Okay. So I've read probably like 100 issues or so, but and that was back in the day, and then I stopped, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to reread all that, and it's long.
Right, it is very long. Well, now it ended. Freddie Alonso said, like, based on Jess's recommendation, I got Rose. So
I loved Rose.
Yeah,
I really loved Rose.
Yep, it's also on my Hoopla list as well, because Meredith Finch. So I hope that we have given you an overview about Imagecomics. We didn't even scratch the surface.
It's crazy.
I can tell you.
And there's things we're gonna be like, I can't believe I forgot that.
Oh,
exactly.
I know.
Because I'm already looking at one, that God Country by Donny Cates. I already forgot to mention about that, and it's a really good book. So there is like thousands and thousands of books that they have. You can go to Imagecomics, like their website, and you can pretty much just start from one. If it starts from A, and then walk your way through. I'm like, even the ones that we talked about least favorite, other than Plutona, I think that Little Girls, I think everything else, we didn't like it, you may. Like, it's not, I'm not saying that, oh my God, no one in their sane mind should be reading it. It just wasn't for us, but you may like it. We don't know that. So go check that out. And if you have Hoopla, like us, like Kristen and I, the elites of the world, like,
get all your image needs on Hoopla.
You can get Imagecomics appears on the day of release in Hoopla. Like, so collected editions, actually. So you don't even have to wait. You can, like, volume 1, you want to check it out on Hoopla. If you love it, go go buy the actual book. So you don't have to wait. You want to wait. You want to over hardcover wait. Well, what about read it on Hoopla? And I think that the creators get money if every time for a Hoopla checkout.
They do. So it's just like a library thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, so if you have Hoopla, to go check that out, and check out all the other comic series, image series that's out there. Thank you so much, Kristen and Jess, for joining me. Me, myself, and I. Joining us. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime, So we're going to try to kind of focus on different publishers. We love Oni Press over here. We love Boom. We love obviously Marvel, DC, like the usual. But there's so many other comic book publishers out there that we need
First
to talk about. First Second is another one, Dark Horse, and we love them all, and we would like to kind of bring focus to every one of them. And so we thought that what better way to do it other than to start with a third biggest publisher in comics, Imagecomics. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope we gave you some food for thought and some books to read. And we'll be back next week with obviously our Hawksbox readathon. Bethany and I will be back with our Hellblazer Part 4, I believe. Yes, Part 4. And Kristen and I will be back with another reads at some point, and also our Hoopla reads or our Goodreads reads. So this is the place to be if you want to know about comic books. So subscribe, go to watch our channel and like it. And you can also find Jess at Omnidog's Vault. The link for that is down below, where he has amazing reviews, which book to put root beer on and which book to read love. So,
and you need to know that, so check it out.
You need to know that. So go to Omnidog's Vault if you want to see more of Jess. Thank you, everyone, and we will be back soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.